Society has changed over the years, especially because of Generation Z. We have changed things like climate and culture. It is important to our generation that everyone gets a chance to express themselves freely. Changes are often hard to go through, but most of the time the results make up for that hard work and scary experiences that you had to go through to get to that new point in life. Changes can be very hard to make and stick with, but they are most of the time good for us. Generation Z likes to have an impact on our world, and we have very strong opinions. Because we now have social media as a resource for news in the world, this has led to us becoming more politically aware and involved. Social media has let our generation see and hear many things. We can easily spread awareness and our own opinions to the world through social media. Because our generation is constantly reminded that we are the future, this has driven us to wanting to make a change in the world. And because we are pretty stubborn, when we have decided on something, we stick to it until we see a change. Movements that our generation has had an impact on are, for example, Me Too and Black Lives Matter. Right now, a hot topic is the school strike for climate. With social media, this movement has spread around the world, and many people have joined in for the strike. Personally, I try to cut down on my carbon footprint for the environment. By walking more and being a vegetarian, I have decreased my carbon footprint. I have also encouraged my family to use reusable bags when we go shopping for food or other stuff. Because I am a vegetarian, my family has had to adapt to my diet, and they have also started to eat less meat. Right now, humans eat much more meat than we actually need. This is a problem because agriculture uses so much resources to provide meat to eat. They cut down trees for land, use water to plant food for the animals, plus the animals themselves release carbon into the atmosphere. There are also less trees to convert the carbon because they get cut down for more land. Eating less meat is such an easy way to cut down on our carbon footprint, and I hope more people start adapting their everyday life to save our planet from climate change. Strike for the climate has become so huge among our generation because if the world won't change what's going on, it is our future that is going to be affected, and we will have to deal with the problems that adults right now don't want to fix.
Climate change isn't the only thing that Generation Z has had an impact in our society. Another change that has happened is race and culture. Like Erickson mentioned how he felt different, said that race is a huge part of our identity and how our groups are the ones that influence it. It is one way we find our identity. Our generation wants people to feel comfortable in themselves and not be judged by race and culture.
Esos no son tus zapatos, amor.
As a young person in Gen Z and a young woman of color, I have seen how the world has changed and improved in terms of racial and cultural representation. When I was younger, I don't remember seeing people who looked like me in entertainment, social media, or powerful political roles. Here are a few examples of how the media is changing and what we are seeing. Some of this may be biased because this is what I have seen in my point of view. Zendaya speaks to many of these areas. She is a biracial actress from the Bay Area, powerful through social media and speaks out about politics and representation. Everyone who inspires doesn't have to be young. Gen Z still responds to Michelle Obama. She speaks out for kids and is a soft bridge to politics and leadership. She is the Oprah of Gen Z. When I was growing up, Dora showed me and many kids in Gen Z that we could have a hero in a little Hispanic girl that would have cool adventures and speak 2 languages. It is important to have someone to relate to from childhood and on. What Gen Z is doing for representation is so important because other generations didn't get this visibility. When my mom was growing up, she mainly had TV and newspapers in the beginnings of social media. But what she had for role models in the media was very limited. Primarily, it was soap opera style characters that were always Latin women that were feisty and villainous. Grandmother had even less visibility. She primarily had TV and movie media. Her representation in this were as maids and servants. Most of the roles of women and people of color were based on giving power to stereotypes. I feel like one of the biggest things that Gen Z has done is to make people feel more relevant, important, and powerful in this world. Every generation has gotten more vocal about wanting more representation. I look forward to watching this move on throughout other generations. Changes are a big part of our lives. It impacts and makes a difference in your identity. Going through changes is a way to find your own identity and a really important thing to experience to improve yourself. We have made and gone through so many changes that has made us closer or what we feel is our identity.